To get the Crime Writers on After Show right now, go to patreon.com/partners in crime media.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, a father tries to protect his son after he witnesses a brutal crime. Will the hunt for a serial killer bring them closure or more pain? We'll discuss the Netflix dramatized series, The Witness. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and the love of my life. It's Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Also with us, private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of The Final Curtain. It's Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, it's our captain of all things cynical, author of a City trilogy of novels, host of Rip Current, More Like Ancient Falians, Strange Arrivals, and our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast. It's Toby Ball. Hola, Toby.
Hola, buenas.
So, Kevin?
Yes.
What's coming up on Thursday's program?
On Thursday, we're going to talk about a new podcast from CBC. It is season 2 of Hunting Warhead. It's called Hunting the Suicide Salesman.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a tough listen, if you couldn't guess. Not a laugh a minute.
Is it almost as much of a tough listen as the one about child sexual abuse that Damon Fairless also did?
That had at least one funny moment in it.
What was that?
That was when they did the raid, and the guy's buddy had no idea what was going on, and the FBI grabbed him, and he looked at him, and the roommate was like, "Yeah, Mondays."
Oh my God. All right. So
a funny thing in a horrible episode in a horrible season.
That's right. Well, it was really good, actually.
Yeah. No.
Subject matter was horrible.
The podcast was great. Yeah. So guys, I just had the most embarrassing on-mic Zoom moment in the history of workplaces at my job.
Were you pantsless?
Right before I came down here to tape this podcast. We were having an all-staff meeting about a serious topic that the whole staff had been asked to weigh in on, and we went into breakout groups, and it was like kind of serious and internal work stuff. And I had to present, and I presented, and after I was done, I muted my mic and turned off my camera, and I bent down to pick up our 15-year-old dog so I could check his dog socks. He has these pads in the bottom of his feet that stop skid.
Somehow that's not the most embarrassing thing about the story.
And I said, leaning into the mic, "You're a precious boy," that loud, and in that voice.
Oh, that's not embarrassing.
Whole place ground to a halt. And it was well, luckily I don't embarrass easily, but it also wasn't as bad as the other guy that time who was ordering double stacks at Wendy's on an open mic in the all-staff meeting. But
he was going through the drive-thru at Wendy's while everyone was having a meeting.
Yes, and his nickname ever since then has been
Double Stacks.
Double stacks.
So I guess I'm going to be precious boy from forever and ever. Yeah.
There you go.
Precious, you're a precious boy.
Could be worse.
You're a precious boy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I actually pulled the tape from the Zoom and I cut it as a clip and I'm going to add it to my soundboard for Something's Off. So Kevin, should we talk about the scripted series we're here to discuss?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Leading off.
Listen, there's been an accident. Mummy's been killed and she's gone. She won't be coming back.
As André deals with the shock of his girlfriend's brutal murder, he reluctantly allows police to question the only witness to the crime, his 2-year-old son. When the interviews prove too traumatic and press coverage too intrusive, André flees to London with Alex, but finds putting the past behind them is difficult.
I get that you blame the police. I do. But this isn't about them. And it's not about me. This is about you.
Don't you dare bring Mum into this. I don't want to remember my mother for her death. I want to remember her for her life.
Meanwhile, using information from the toddler, police home in on a man who shares his violent sexual fantasies with an undercover cop. Detectives are sure they've got Rachel Nickell's killer, even though a similar murder suggests a different suspect.
They lived in Plumstead. And this is Wimbledon. Yeah, I see where you're going. But the scenes are close enough and the crime's rare enough for it to be worth a visit, don't you think?
Netflix's The Witness is a dramatized version of the infamous 1992 case and a companion series to the documentary The Murder of Rachel Nickell. The show focuses on father and son as Rachel's unsolved murder adds strain to their relationship. It also follows the detectives' efforts to close the case, even though their assumptions about their lead suspect take them in the wrong direction. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from The Witness. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. So Toby, this series really kept you up, huh? It kept you awake and alive and invigorated?
I don't know if it had been different if we hadn't watched the documentary last week about this, but I found this to be incredibly boring. It just felt like a complete slog. And I've got some theories about why, which we can get into later. But it's been a while. Like, we've watched some stuff that's kind of sucked, but it's kind of moved along. And this just felt super, super slow to me. And it was just hard to find anything to really grab onto. So it was just kind of watching the minutes pass by and thinking that there were some World Cup games I could be watching.
I think that was the problem. I'm going to diagnose you with World Cup-itis. That was probably the issue. So, Kevin, we've seen from like Ryan Murphy and so forth that they've been doing this lately on Netflix, where there's a documentary and then a scripted version that comes out concurrently. Was there overlap in this production? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting take on an idea on presenting the story. Like you say, Ryan Murphy did it with what was it, the Jeffrey Dahmer stuff, right? And right now, there's no creative team overlap. Like, the director didn't also direct, that also. What did we have? The Gone Girl one. Who was the?
Liz Garbus.
She ended up, doing the movie version of the book, but then also did the documentary version, which was not that long ago. There's no staff overlap, but they're both produced by TV studios, and both use like actual footage from the case, news coverage from back in the day. So there's a couple of visual overlaps, but other than that, it seems like they're somewhat separate.
So, Laura, one of the things I love about reviewing media with you is that you always do like a little bit of a deep dive. You're the one who looks at the website presentation that goes with podcasts. Mm-hmm. You Wikipedia cases to sort of see what the outcome is or what maybe wasn't in a documentary. Mm-hmm. And I see from your notes here that you looked up some British media around this project. What did you find there?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that was interesting, I was reading some of the commentary on this show, not documentary, but this dramatization of this case in the British press. And there are people that were like appreciating that it doesn't dwell upon the murder, but at the same time, there was a lot of like, does this story need to be told again? Because in England, everybody knows this story. This story has been told over and over again. So if to us, this is new. To them, it would be like if we're like, why are we hearing about like O.J. Simpson again? Or why are we hearing about something again that we all know about?
Ramsey.
So the question was just like, is there really another need to tell this story again, given that there has been a lot of prior media coverage on this case that happened now like decades ago? But at the same time, I think that the production quality of this, I thought was, done in a way that was tasteful, that highlighted the family dynamics and, really kept this on, the father and the son. Well, it did put some of the, investigation back. So I think it was a different type of telling. And the fact that André and Alex were both involved in this, I think also gives it some credibility in that bigger sort of picture, in that bigger body of work about this case.
I went on a crime scene with Sarah Carradine last week, and we actually talked about The Murder of Rachel Nickell, the documentary. And by the way, I got this shirt from the other crime scene guest, Sarah D. Bunting, from her store. Everyone gets a shirt that says allegedly from Exhibit B Books. You can order it online. It came very quickly. Anyway, and Sarah Carradine told me that she thought this scripted thing before I watched it was like terrible. And I was like watching it and I'm like waiting for the terrible parts. To me, the most terrible part is that they somehow managed to cast actors who aren't as good looking as the real people, because the real people are so freaking good looking.
Hey, ugly actors need work too.
But they're not ugly.
They're not ugly.
They're just not as good looking as André and Alex. But I actually found it sort of quiet and unsensational too. And I appreciated that they didn't show the murders at all. Like they just didn't do that.
Yeah.
And, that's something you can do with a scripted series, and they chose not to. And I appreciate that. So Toby, there's more than one story being told in this series. And the Rachel Nickell documentary was very straightforward. Do you think combining narratives works here?
No, in a word. I think like maybe if it had been longer, which I hate to say about something I was bored by, but it just didn't feel like there was enough depth to either story to really maintain at least my interest. The whole investigation thing seemed to be completely devoid of any kind of suspense or sense of urgency or anything like that. It was just kind of happening, and it was kind of moving along. It would be nice if they solved it, but you didn't really get a sense that a whole lot was at stake there other than having some closure, right? And then the personal thing, I just kind of felt like it was like a bullet list, where it was just like, okay, then this happens and then this happens. There's a whole bunch of scenes that they have with other people that have no context and are then never seen again. Like there's a dinner party they go to where he pulls a knife on his dad. And it's just like, what the hell's going on?
You're letting her down.
Look, listen, your mother would be ashamed with how you're acting right now, okay? Eat the fish.
You're worse than the police.
Eat the food.
You don't speak for her.
Alex.
Never see them again. These older skateboard guys that Alex is hanging out with, again, they're basically just there so he can smoke a joint or try a dangerous skateboard trick. There's a girlfriend who shows up who's in 2 scenes and who I think is essentially there so that he can have like an interior monologue that he can deliver to somebody. And she's there for that. So I just kind of felt like the whole thing just felt kind of undercooked. And that if they'd done one or the other, or just made them both longer, like maybe in a little more depth, it would have made more sense. But I just kind of felt like kind of an outline of 2 different stories and not like actual fleshed out stories. And that was part of, I think, why I found it kind of boring, is that I was just like, okay, there's a new scene with these, like, what kind of dysfunctional little thing is going to happen in this scene? What dysfunctional thing is going to happen in this scene? It didn't seem very compelling.
To be fair, Toby, you're all here for the purpose of me to have someone to do exposition with. So
That's
just
true.
FYI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we get our lines beforehand, as everybody knows.
Yeah. So, Laura, as I said to Kevin earlier, it is a very straightforward documentary that we watched, and they sort of play with time and going forward and backward and forward and backward in this. Meanwhile, there is a linear police investigation. Do you feel like the timelines were confusing?
Yes. I had a harder time following the timeline of the police investigation in this one as opposed to the documentary. I was like, is that how it happened in the documentary? I was like, was it really that far afterwards that this happened? Okay, when did this happen? And I think with this one, I could follow what was happening with Alex and André based on the age and where they were at. But with the police investigation, I was a little bit like, is this past or present? When is this happening? So I think because of that, but to me, that wasn't necessarily the central focus of this series. I think the focus of this was on the aftermath on this father and son and how they navigated these ensuing years after her murder.
What exactly am I lying about?
You've always said it was the world you don't trust, but that's just not true, is it? It's me. My whole life you've always thought I was going to get in some kind of trouble.
That's not true, Alex.
Yeah, what if it's not me who's fucked
stop.
up? What if it's you?
Alex.
But I definitely felt like that the police procedural part of this didn't really work with the rest of it for me.
What about the tabloids, Laura? Because I think there is a portrayal of British media in this that we've kind of seen before, but it seems a little bit ham-fisted and overwhelming in this series. Like the banging on the door, the trying to get inside, all that stuff. What did you think about those parts? Did they work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really gave a sense, and I think we sort of stereotypically, at least I do here in the U.S., think of the British press and the British tabloids as being really relentless. Like you think about the royal family and how, they are so closely watched. And in this one, they really seem to be everywhere. They're at the police station. They're at the crime scene. They're like, when they go to that house out wherever that was, when that was kind of very big but also very remote. All of a sudden, they're out there at the gate calling for him and wanting to talk to him.
Alex, how you doing? It's Pete calling at the Sun.
And so I think for me, what I took away from that was this family trying to come to terms with what happened and really being under this microscope to the point that then they're like, we're just going to leave the country at this point. When you're seeing Alex not telling anybody what happened and you're seeing the father, André, really shielding him and not even telling the teachers what is in his background because of that microscope that they were under, that for me worked better than the police procedural part of this.
What about you, Kevin? You have a note about the tabloid representation as well.
I mean, do you really think there were like 24 reporters outside Andre's house yelling all day for months?
Yes.
You think that?
No,
I don't think that either. So that part like always feels very...
Although it's happening at Nancy Guthrie's house.
But I mean, this always sort of feels very heavy-handed to me. Like, it's every time you look out the window, there's a whole army of people that are there just shouting. We do know because we hear from the real André that, it was the media pressure, wanted to get away, wanted to keep this low profile. But it ends up playing into this idea that they are so press averse that he keeps a go bag by the door and has kept it there for years, just in case a reporter finds out where they are. Like they're in the mafia or something like that. And it just felt like...
witness protection.
Yeah, just sort of... Now, I know that in real life, because we saw the documentary first and not the other way around, that, there was concern there, and there was certainly concern about young Alex's safety, because there was a photo of him in the press, and, they think, well, maybe now the killer's going to, now I got to, not that the killer hadn't already seen him, but, now he's going to come back for him. But the idea that, if 10 years later someone does a story on them, that they're in grave danger to the point where they're just going to pick up and leave everything behind. That doesn't ring true to me. Like as a real life thing. I think that, if you kept a bag by the door full of money and it's always there, and you got some punk ass teenager for a son who's wanting to go smoke dope and doing all those things that kids never touches it. Never goes in, pulls a couple euro out, and then, like that.
You mean pounds?
No, these were euros. Remember, they were living in France and then Spain.
Wasn't this pre-Brexit, though, that all this happened?
I don't know. Toby, you tell me. You must know.
They never used pounds in Spain or France.
No, I thought you were talking about a go bag in England, but they didn't have that.
No, remember he had it in Spain
or
even
France.
Spain, yeah.
That was confusing. They were like in Spain, then they were in France, and they were back in Spain. Whatever.
You know what you could do with all that money in that go bag?
What's that?
What could you do?
Buy some weed.
You could join our. You could buy some weed, or you could join our Patreon.
Yes.
Both things are soothing.
Yes, they are.
And surprisingly inexpensive.
Yes.
If you join us at patreon.com/partners in crime media, you'll get all sorts of exclusive content, including those at the leading off level. You'll get the Crime Writers On After Show, this exclusive podcast. Rebecca will be discussing her new friend, Jenna Bush Hager.
Yes.
From the Today Show. If you guys are familiar with her book club, Jenna, what is it called?
Reading with Jenna.
Reading with Jenna.
And now she's a publisher as well.
It's not as big as Oprah's, but it is very popular.
It actually is.
And this was for not the Exeter Lit Festival, because since they were not nice to Laura, we're all like, well, fuck them. But this is for the Seacoast Literary Festival. And this was a big onstage thing where you got to interview Jenna, and then also the author of
Shannon Garvey, yes.
the next book, which was that June's Child, or what is it called?
June Baby.
June Baby.
You're really with it today, Ken.
I don't know. How many notes do you really want me to take for this? So Rebecca's going to tell us all about her backstage encounters with Jenna. Other exclusive content includes Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast. Toby and his guests recently discussed The Other Side of Prospect true crime book. We have Married with Podcast, our advice podcast, in which Rebecca and I give advice to someone who does not want to hear her mother-in-law say, I told you so.
Oh, that bitch.
There's also Something's Off, which is Rebecca and Mel's true crime podcast. And looks like Colin Albert, the infamous Colin Albert, who may or
What
may
a
not have been in the house.
surprise. He was in the house probably, Kevin.
He was probably in the house. Hey, why didn't he
surprise.
go? Why didn't he go to his deposition? Because he suddenly joined the army.
Suddenly.
And there's a lot of
told his lawyers the day before.
Yeah, that's one way to get out of it. Imagine Laura Bricker
he's
trying
not
to
getting
serve
out
a
of it.
subpoena
Yeah, he's not
to
getting
somebody
out of
like that. He's in boot camp. Laura's like, I'm on the first plane. Fort
How's
Bragg.
it going? Here I am.
If you become a Bricker scaler, you get to another exclusive podcast. Is Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker. And I got to say, this last episode, it's the first one that ends with a cliffhanger. My jaw dropped. This all has to do with the goings on at the condo board where Laura lives. And Laura, you even go to the fucking courthouse to find out what's going on.
I do, yeah. I went to a condo board meeting. I found out about a lawsuit. There was very loose details, so I went to the courthouse and I pulled the lawsuit.
Wow.
And I'm in, and there was a cliffhanger because there is a lot happening out here at my little condo association.
So it's like Laura lives in Widow's Bay. Like
Yes.
There's a whole
Could be.
Yes.
Could be,
Big
except for that
cliffhanger.
basement.
Big cliffhanger.
Big cliffhanger.
Yes.
If you join us at the Let's Do What We Do level, you get episodes of Crime Writers on early and ad-free. And if you're a deep diver, you get all that, and you get to be an exclusive sponsor of Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast. You can join Toby and his guests on Monday night as they record the next deep dive. The book is called Murderland. Toby, who's joining you for that discussion?
I am being joined by Samantha Axtell Prisbilowitz, Maggie Freeling, and Sarah Kalin.
Oh, okay.
Super.
Does that end our business section?
Thus ends the business section.
I'm going to go ahead and fade that music right out. So, Toby, what do you think the themes are in this series? Because, again, we saw the documentary, which was a straightforward telling of the story. So when you do something scripted, you got to do a little more. So what were they trying to get us to take away from this, you think?
So I think in the more intimate family portion of the show, it was really about sort of moving forward versus seeking closure. So that seemed to be like the sort of major point of contention between André and Alex, where André, was so fixated on finding who did the murder, even at this late date, and then later, I guess, on finding a way to hold the Metropolitan Police Department responsible for their ineptitude that led to the perpetrator killing several more times after he already should have been caught. And Alex, on the other hand, seems to just want to move on and be able to live a life that isn't under the shadow of his mother's brutal murder and then his father's sort of paranoia, whether it's, justified or not, about the press. And, I think you get a sense of the oppressiveness that Alex feels. I don't know if it's on purpose and whether it was a good idea or a mistake or whatever. But I think one of the things that I came away kind of wondering was, what is really behind Alex's acting out, right? Or his kind of disaffection. Is it this extremely traumatic moment when he's 2 years old, or is it the following years in which he's living in this state, this sort of embattled existence? And I don't feel like the show really stakes out a position on that. And I don't know if maybe, I think in reality, it's probably a combination of the two, right? Anyway, that was kind of what I found most interesting about what I sort of plot line I didn't find particularly interesting was this two sort of instincts and how they kind of play out through father and son.
Yeah. One of them has an Irish feelings box and one of them does not, apparently. So, Kevin, what do you think about the performances in the series?
Yeah, I thought they were good. My favorite happens to be Josiah Williams. He played young Alex, baby Alex.
I'm going to see where Mommy died. I'm going to lay a rose and say goodbye properly. I won't be long.
I want to come with you.
At least I don't think.
I want to.
You want to say goodbye too?
Yes.
I thought baby Alex did a good job. Not baby Yoda-like, but definitely baby Alex was good. Because
Would you be surprised to learn he was AI?
He was a puppet.
No, he's not AI.
He moded so well. I think that's kind of a tough job at that age. I mean, you had a preschooler like doing this.
Probably twins.
Probably preschoolers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'm just guessing. I could be wrong.
Probably. Well, I don't know. Do you think they have those same kind of
laws,
labor laws in Europe?
They probably just follow the labor laws.
They probably have even stricter.
Yeah.
You can't use twins. You got to use triplets.
Oh, okay.
In order for them
quads only.
Exactly. But yeah, overall, I thought the performances were good. I was scared at the Spanish dinner party when he was served fish. I knew that was going to be a problem immediately.
Yeah.
I know it was because and they took a knife. You're right. Toby, I don't know if someone served me fish at a Spanish dinner party, I might lose my shit too. So I hope you're a better man than I.
It's pretty common, I think, to eat fish in Spain,
but not if you're a vegetarian.
That's true. That's true. But some vegetarians eat fish.
I know. That's the whole conflict.
Those are called pescatarians.
Pescatarians, yes.
I know. I yelled that at the TV.
Yeah.
When I used to be a vegetarian for like 3 years. People used to ask me all the time if I ate fish, and I was like, "What did I just tell you?"
I don't know. Yeah. I know somebody who's a Presbyterian.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
An Episcopalian.
So, Laura, that performance of that young actor includes scenes where he's being interviewed by these people in a way that a child should never be, asking for information that a child can't possibly have, especially since he's 1.5 feet tall and he can't possibly know what somebody's face looks like.
Right.
What did you think about those scenes?
Yeah, I think it was hard, speaking of how the father, André, was reacting, he's kind of showing how he's irritated with him as he's, in his mind, misbehaving as they're in there questioning him. You're seeing the scene where Alex is taken to, help identify the body, and you're like, this is not a good thing.
Alex, do you want to see mommy now?
I was thinking about in the documentary, I was focused a lot on child suggestibility when I'm looking at those scenes of early Alex, and I'm focused on, how that played out and how that, in this one, I found myself more thinking about, kind of piggybacking what Toby was saying, like the lasting impact of trauma on his life. And was it, like you said, that trauma from that early experience that, he witnessed, was it the combination of that and his father really trying to keep him in this safety box, essentially, and micromanaging him to the point that he then has a nanny or an au pair when he's way too old to have a nanny or an au pair, it feels like, staying with him. I think seeing those early scenes, again, it's like this case is one of those cases that if you're like, here's what you should not be doing with a young witness who's a victim witness to a crime of this nature. And, I think that really comes through when you watch what we watched the documentary that last week. And then when you see the dramatized version here, at the time, I think these people thought this was what they were supposed to be doing, but really that's not going to work. Yeah. So it's like, this is not a position this child should have been put in, but I don't think they knew what else to do.
I think that Jordan Bolger, who played André, did a decent job acting in this. There are a lot of very quiet scenes where he's just sort of like resigned to how shitty his son is being to him, because he can't, of course, say you're being shitty to me, because he also knows his son has this trauma and all this stuff, and he just has that beleaguered look of like an abused parent whose kid is just like causing all kinds of trouble again and again and again. And I thought he did a good job with that.
Yeah. And, we always talk about, very often with things of nonfiction, sometimes when we're critiquing it, the conversation turns to, well, if this were the dramatized version, this would happen. Or if this was the fictionalized version, we would have this or that. And so now we have, very fresh side-by-side comparison. And we look at, if you start from the nonfiction version, at least what is presented in the documentary, you look at that and you say, okay, well, if I'm doing the scripted version, what parts are there that would play well and that I want to explore with characters with the freedom of dramatic license? And what things, what things do we, set aside? Now, I don't know. We didn't ask 30-year-old Alex if back in the day he actually was on a skateboard, right? He might not have been a skater. So we're like, okay, we need to come up with something that like
Risky.
Represents his brutal youth.
Death wish.
His death wish, and staying out late,
skateboards,
arguing with dad. I'm going to Anna's house. Screw you and your white rice that you've been making all day, or whatever it is. But I tell you, I thought there was one. I would have liked to have seen this. I would have pushed for this if I were doing the screenplay, because when you saw it, the most dramatic moment, I thought the most human moment from the documentary was the footage that we saw when the investigators finally, like sort of the last effort, took young Alex back to the park, right? And then there's something happens, and then he starts to cry. And after all this stuff, this is where like André loses it.
That was enough for me. I had enough. This was taking too heavy a toll on him. It was taking too heavy a toll on me as well.
Go, let's fucking go!
And he's yelling like, "This is fucking stupid." And you catch him in real life, basically like, "Okay, enough. Enough is enough. I've had it." For the documentary, like for whatever he does afterwards, it's like, I get it. He's going to do this instead. Go to France. Okay, that makes sense now. That made more sense to me than, well, the press is coming after me or whatever. I would have liked to have seen that scene dramatized. I thought that would have explained much more of a character's motivation, and I think we would have had a little more insight into perhaps why later on André is so protective. Right? I thought that's like, when you're looking at these things, you're always trying to find, okay, what is the piece, the truth to mine? And I thought that would have been great in this series if they had done that.
What do you think, Toby? What would you have scripted differently, aside from making it less boring?
Expect everything, yes.
Is there something that you saw in the documentary that wasn't here, or something that you saw here that you were like, why is that there?
Yeah, well, I hadn't really thought about it, but I think Kevin's like 100% right about that. I mean, it kind of seems, I don't know. And again, I think it's that sort of outline-ish nature of the whole thing. It's like, yeah, the press is a pain in the ass or whatever, but is it really worth destroying your life basically in order to avoid it? That scene is almost too good, and it happened in reality, but there is like this crescendo of stuff, of this pressure of like taking this little kid and putting him through all this stuff. And then at the one moment where it's like, just, it reaches the apex. Like, you're not going to, unless you had it videoed and you're making them watch the actual murder, like that is the most visceral thing you can do. And that's the moment at which the kid breaks, the father breaks, and they have to leave. Like, that makes emotional sense. Right. And I mean, I'm just repeating what Kevin said, so for whatever that's worth, but that would make the rest of it seem more comprehensible. When I first heard that this is what it was going to be, I thought it was really going to be about him struggling with the ideas of, do I try and save my kid as best as I can, or do I try and help the police stop this murderer? And like, what are the moral responsibility and stuff on that? And that seemed to be largely absent from this. I mean, I think it's sort of touched on a tiny bit, but doesn't seem to be a big issue. But that to me was like sort of the big thing in the documentary. I mean, it's what starts the whole thing, is he sort of acquiesces to pressure from the police. So I would have really narrowed the scope of this a lot. Like, all this stuff, I'd forgotten about the au pair, right? I mean, but that's just another one where she's in there for 2 scenes, so that essentially to set it up so she can say, I know it's not my place, but this and the other thing. And then André says, yeah, it's not your place. Like, that's the only reason why that's the only reason why she's there, right? Is for that.
And someone's got to fold the laundry, Toby.
Someone's got to change that big boy's pants for him.
Yeah. So
that kid's not going to shake himself.
If you've got 3 if you're doing this in 3 episodes, 3 hours, you're trying to tell these 2 stories in a way that makes some kind of emotional and narrative sense, I think you just really have to narrow the scope quite a bit and get people invested in certain aspects of things, rather than trying to hit all these points in ways that, I mean, maybe I'm totally off on this, but every scene, once they get to Europe, I just felt like they're trying to make a point with this scene. They're trying to make a point with this scene. They're trying to make a point with this scene. Nothing's evolving naturally. We have to hit all these points so we can get to the end. and then have there be some kind of reconciliation or some kind of emotional working out of things. And the fact that, at least to me, it seems so transparent what they were doing, like none of it hit. And conversely, if you're going to do the investigation, make it mean something. Like the whole thing with the first guy, like that goes by super, super quick. Like you basically see the cop with the beard and the weird way of talking shows up and he becomes convinced that it's this guy, but you don't get really much of a sense of him other than he's weird. And then they have the sort of honey trap letter thing, and that goes by pretty quick too. I mean, it was just like, again, it's like, all right, we have to check off these 4 things. All right, we got those done. Now we can move on to the next thing. For me, it's not like, oh, if they could add this, if they could add that. It's like, no, you guys just got to rethink the scope of this. This is either got to be longer and you got to spend some time making this have some kind of impact, or you need to really condense the scope and make it so the pieces that you do show have like some emotional resonance or some narrative resonance. I just found it really frustrating, especially the family one, because I just felt as though they're just trying to hit certain marks and then it's going to end. And it's just, that's not like a kind of show I want to see.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out The Witness on Netflix? It's a 3-part dramatized version of the documentary, The Murder of Rachel Nickell. Laura Bricker, thumbs up or thumbs down for The Witness?
I'm going to go mild thumbs up on this one. I think, the last one that we reviewed last week, the actual documentary about this case, is pretty straightforward true crime. This really provided sort of the emotional focus of the aftermath for André and Alex, the father and son in this case, and their other family members as they were navigating the process of coming to terms with this horrible crime and this murder and what their lives were like. And I think you could see it as being a little bit like, okay, why are we hearing about this? But the way that I thought about it was, I know they consulted on this. So I think this, from where they were at, is hopefully a pretty good representation of what they went through. So if you were interested in this case, you don't know all about this case because you don't live in England, and you want to learn more about how it affected the family members in this dramatized way, I think it was an interesting portrayal. I did have some issues with the police investigation portion of this that were a little bit hard to follow, and I don't know if they were necessary. But overall, I think this was done in a way that was not sensational. They put the family kind of front and center and was an interesting complement to the documentary about the same case.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for The Witness?
Yeah, so I'm a thumbs down. It felt at sometimes to me like maybe this had started off being like a 6-part series, and they're like, no, it's got to be three parts. And then they tried to like have all the same plot elements that they had in the 6-part series, but do it in half the time, because it just felt, it's hard to say it again, because if you listen to the very, very end of our main review, I make all these same points, so I'm having to make them again. But it just felt like it goes very fast and very superficially through a bunch of things that it wanted to get out there and wanted to say, and it felt like it just drained any suspense, any sense of stakes, any kind of emotional connection. Any of that stuff all seemed to be really beside the point of knocking out these certain plot points. Because of that, I found this very boring. So anyway, yeah, I'm a thumbs down. I didn't think this was well done. I mean, the acting is fine. It's largely the script, but I just found the script to be a tough watch.
Kevin Flynn.
I'm a mild thumbs up on this. I think basically on the strength of the underlying story here, it's a fascinating setup where you have a witness to a crime who's 2 years old. Can you identify the perpetrator? And this series kind of veers away from the gore and goes instead to the impact and the aftermath of the crime. So I found that interesting. Again, it came out at the same time as this documentary about the case. And I think that I would much rather have seen the dramatized version first, because I'm always finishing that going, I wonder what part of that was true. I wonder if that actually happened. And I think that I would have enjoyed a little more finding those things out, as opposed to coming into it thinking, oh, I wish that they had touched on that. Oh, I would have done something differently with that. But overall, it's not bad. This isn't going to win any awards, but I think if you enjoyed the documentary, then this is a pretty good companion to it, or even as a standalone watch. So for me, I'm a mild thumbs up.
I'm a thumb sideways. I thought it was fine. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be after Sarah Carradine told me it was terrible. Performances were okay. The pacing was a little weird in terms of like all the jump cuts and time and all that stuff. But, it was understated, quiet, sensitively told. And I just kept thinking that, what this should have been made like? It should have been made just like that Erin Lee Carr film, Undercurrent. The disappearance of Kim Vall, which I know was a documentary. But in that story, she, I think, did a really good job kind of balancing the criminal investigation with sort of like the very personal, intimate family stuff. And it was just a good balance. And I know that was, again, unscripted, but I was watching this and I was like, there was an opportunity here to tell a story like that, where there's like a very suspenseful and intense police investigation, or like Unbelievable would be another good example of something where there's like an intense, suspenseful police investigation alongside, some painful, quiet stuff. And for this, the balance wasn't quite there. I think at the expense of the police investigation, we got a little too much of the personal, but as Toby said, it was kind of disjointed with a lot of characters and a lot of places that were very confusing. So, but it's not terrible. So this is a thumb sideways for me for The Witness. Now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the Crime of the Week.
Crime of the Week!
I love this one. The operators of a life-size Noah's Ark are suing their insurance company over damages from excessive rain. The owners of Noah's Ark Encounters in Williamstown, Kentucky, have filed suit, saying heavy rains in 2017 and 18 caused a landslide which blocked its access road. The insurance carrier refused to pay for cleanup. The Kentucky Ark wasn't damaged. The tourist attraction and museum was built using the dimensions described in the book of Genesis. It's 510 feet long, or 300 cubits. And although there is some scholarly debate on the historical length of a cubit, there is 100% agreement that Noah was able to gather two of literally every kind of animal in the world and float aimlessly for 40 days and 40 nights without any of the animals eating each other. In the Bible, Noah knew the waters were receding because a dove returned with an olive branch. But the operators of the Kentucky Ark are not extending an olive branch to their insurance company. They're seeking $1 million in compensatory and punitive damages. So panel, the business people are going to go Old Testament on these litigants. What is the next biblically inspired lawsuit? Laura Bricker.
Poland Springs water is not turning that water into wine.
Oh, they should be, though. Yeah, we should sue them. Mm-hmm. What about you, Toby? What do you think is the next biblically inspired lawsuit?
I don't know. Some lady walked into my garden and grabbed an apple and took a bite.
Oh,
no.
What about you, Kevin?
Something went horribly wrong at Jonas's whale watch.
Oh. Wasn't there some sort of like splitting a baby in half situation in one of the things? It seems like that would be worthy of a lawsuit.
If you actually split the baby in half, yes.
Yeah. All right. Laura Bricker, if folks want to follow you online and say hi, how can you be reached on social media?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Instagram and Blue Sky.
What about you, Toby? How can you be found besides in Spain?
At TobyBall603 on Instagram.
What about you, Kevin?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn.
You can find me everywhere at Reb Lavoie, even on the Hell site. That is X. Yep, I'm still there. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Threads. But I mostly encourage you to join our incredible community in our official Crime Writers On Facebook discussion group. Our handle on all of those platforms is at Crime Writers On. Get everything we make at Patreon, including ad-free and early episodes at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia. You'll also get the after show, Married with Podcast, Something's Off, Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker, and Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcasts. Our theme song was composed and performed by Ty Gibbons. The executive producer and editor of this episode is Kevin Flynn. This show was recorded in the Caitlin Rogers Project Studio, also known as Studio C, The Closet, in our New Hampshire basement, where we also have PTSD outbursts when served fish at a Spanish dinner party. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks for listening. We will catch you later.
Rebecca will be discussing her new friend, her new BFF, Laura Hager Bush.
Oh my God. I forgot about that.
From the Today Show.
Laura Bush Hager.
Yeah, okay, we take it. Laura Bush Hager.
No, it's Jenna Bush Hager.
Fuck my butt. Fuck me so hard in the butt. Okay.
Oh.
Partners in Crime Media.